I am willing to jump. 'Cause I've been thinking about crossing the line and just giving. And I'm feeling the way I do. Cause I've been thinking about you all the time, can't get enough. I wanna make it with you. This time I'm gonna be true. Only you move me to the rhythm. my head. Did you really mean the words you said? Yeah. That's the way I see it. You had every chance to walk away. Walk away, yeah. You and me are perfect, but I don't wanna hurt no one. When all is said and done, just tell me that I'm worth it. Tell me I'm the only one, yeah. Baby, it's been so long. I'm calling out your name. Do you think of me? Just tell me if you feel the same. I will leave the lights on in case you're coming back. Do you think of me? Sometimes I wanna believe in that. 'Cause I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. All things that I wanna do, wanna do, wanna do. Don't leave me, don't let me down. Just tell me now. Do you think of me? Think of me? I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you, me and you. I think about me and you, me and you
Good morning and welcome to the HRart Morning Show. I'm so happy that you're here joining me live or watching the replay, and I hope that you had an incredible week. I don't know for you, for me, I guess summer is officially kind of getting kicked off. Today is the last day of school for my girls, and so next week is like summer, although it doesn't feel like that. I feel like because of 2020, everything was off and things were crammed in, and now we're trying to have some sense of normalcy for summer. But I feel like it's a sprint to get there. And I don't know if you're feeling that as well, but I definitely am. But yeah. So once again, so happy that you're here joining me. The next 3 weeks, we're going to be doing something really special on the HRart Morning Show. I'm really excited to share this with you because it's inspired by the podcast book club. The episodes are airing. I think they have started airing for A New Earth. So if you have not checked out the HRart of It podcast, make sure that you do that. You'll want to listen at least to the New Earth episodes if what we're talking about today, next week, and the week after really jive with you, because these next 3 episodes were inspired by my learning outcomes from the book, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And I should have had an image that I could put up. Maybe I'll get that ready for next week. But this book, highly recommended to me from several people. I had included it in the book club list for this year so that I made sure that I held myself accountable and read it. I wish I would have read it sooner, but everything happens at the time that it should, because it is a complete game changer. It opened my eyes in new ways. It gave me missing pieces where I still had gaps in things that I had been wondering about life in general. And that is just really, really impactful. So, let's look at the blurb for today, because I think that's going to give us a little more clarity about what we are talking about. So, today, in the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, he shares 3 modalities of awakened doing. These 3 modalities are acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. Each of these modalities represents a certain vibrational frequency of consciousness. For the next 3 weeks, we'll be unpacking these modalities in their vibrational frequency. In this episode, we're beginning with acceptance, which encompasses all that you cannot enjoy. This modality brings reason and clarity to circumstances required of us despite the lackluster. So we're going to talk about these energetic vibrations and frequencies that are aligned with an increased state of consciousness, which, you could equate to being awakened. I could say to have increased self-awareness. We talk a lot here at the HRart Center about living your connected life. And these 3 modalities really provide a framework, especially from a professional capacity, of how to know that you're living a connected life. And it makes sense of everything. I've read lots of texts that talk about follow the joy, focus on the joy. We've heard about focusing on passion and being passionate about your work. Yet we still know there's this monotonous amount of tasks that we have to do. You're never going to love everything about your job. There's still stuff that we have to do. Even I have stuff that I have to do. I get closer and closer to focusing on the work that I love, but there's still other things that I don't like to do that are part of my job. Today's topic, the modality that we're covering today, which is acceptance, is going to tackle that directly. So really a big one. And then we'll talk about enjoyment and enthusiasm as the other 2, which bring great clarity to what following the joy means, that we hear in several different kinds of texts, lots of self-help books. Obviously, it's a theme that keeps reoccurring because it's linked to some universal collective wisdom, which is why it resonates with us. And then also, being passionate about your work, loving what you do. Once again, something else that resonates with the bulk of us back in the day, like when I first started Leadership Arts Associates, before it was the HRart Center, I used to have all of these graphics and artwork around the office that said, love what you do what you love. Because that was my sole inspiration for the business, was making sure that I created a job that I loved, because I had the freedom to do so. If I had read A New Earth back then, it may have gave me greater clarity around what that meant and what I ultimately was seeking, to have a balanced and a business model and strategy that was really, really clear. However, with me saying that, I don't know if I would have been ready to receive it 5 years. There was a lot of things that I had to do, grow and evolve. But at the same time, it has given me now the clarity to where we are today. So we're going to see all of that happen and kind of unfold in the next 3 weeks. So I'm really excited to share with you, because these really are my reflection and some of the most powerful learning outcomes that I got from the book with the book club. And the book club is phenomenal. The group of people that came together this year and joined me for that entire journey through 4 books, and A New Earth was our third. You want to take a listen and hear not only the perspectives, but the learning outcomes that Karen and Liza and Ben and Ryan had as well through this book. All very different people. All 4 of us are very, very different individuals. All five of us are very different individuals and bring very different viewpoints to the book. However, collectively still resonate strongly with each other and taught each other, no matter how those reflections were falling on us. So make sure you check out the podcast. Okay. So enough about that. Let's get into our post to ponder for today. So today is June 4th, 2021. And our posts today, I think, are a blend of Instagram and LinkedIn. This first one, who is not my direct connection, it is a second connection. This is Jesse Tinsley. He is in recruiting somewhere. This was posted 3 weeks ago. That says, a lot of people are complaining about Zoom meetings. You know what's worse? Commuting 1 to 2 hours each way to work to have face-to-face meetings all day. Get home when your kids are already asleep and repeat 5 days a week for the next 30 years. Sign me up for the Zoom meetings. So I think that we're seeing actually a lot of posts like this. And as you can see down below, you have likes, you have celebrations, you have hearts, 140,000 of them. There's also 4,300 comments, and I should have taken a gander at those because, I love to look at the comments when we have that much engagement happening on a post. However, there are lots of posts that are coming out like this, people sharing this opinion. And I think it's just a cautionary tale. And those of you who are listening or watching this, if you disagree, love to hear your comments in the discussion down below. But I think it is something to be mindful of, that Zoom is a powerful tool that has allowed us to connect differently and allow us to have balance that we somehow before did not know how to manage. So I think there's always going to be times when you do need to connect in person, but I don't think we should go back to everything the way that it was before. If we go back exactly to the way things were before without taking into account or stock of things that we have learned over the last year, that's going to be a big, big, huge mistake. With that being said, I also think that, our hesitancy or resistance to keep Zoom meetings around comes from a place of that we had to do it in excess. And that's true. We had it an abundant amount, but that doesn't mean we should go to an abundant amount of live meetings either. I have meetings starting to come back into play in person. I think that the trend initially is great because the human connection that we missed for so long, we need to rekindle that. But then after that, I think when it simmers down, be mindful of, yes, we love to connect with each other, but also from an efficiency, from a balance standpoint, let's not shut off the whole concept that we're now equipped to do these virtual meetings and use that as a tool set. Number 2, so this post really moved me. This is by Dr. Benjamin Ritter. He was on the podcast earlier this season. So once again, if you haven't checked out the HRart of It podcast, do that. And I'm sure if Steph is watching this, maybe she will link to his episode down in the show notes. If not, I'll make sure I do that. If I don't, leave a comment and remind me, and I will totally put it there. But he's a fascinating individual. He's an amazing individual. He is been coaching my husband recently and doing amazing work with him. And I'm watching the transformation happen from a step away. So great guy. So this beautiful post is obviously what caught my attention first, and it has Ben's tags in a watermark, so I'm assuming it's something he personally took. It says, "It's okay to want more." And here's what he wrote. "I've battled for so long with wanting more from every part of life. A long journey of personal development and evolving from external validation has led me to being content with the present. I don't worry about success or achievement and find fulfillment through showing up as my brand and aligned each and every day. But you know what? That still didn't stop me from wanting more. I crave experiences, leveling up, and testing myself in ways I haven't before. And no matter of presence is going to change that. So you know what I did? I accepted that I need more to taste life and challenge myself. So on days I'm bored, I go after it. I honor myself. And I don't know if you need to hear this, but it's okay to want more. Just make sure you go after it or you'll be questioning it." And I think, Ben adds to this conversation of if, especially talking about a new earth, presence is a huge component of this. And I think sometimes we're led to believe, I know I was led to believe, that when we're going to focus on presence, that we can't want more. We are in this moment. We're human beings, and I think some of us are driven. And if we obsess over the fact that we can't let go of wanting more, that's going to be totally counteractive to what we're trying to do and hope to achieve and live in alignment. And so this acceptance piece, which is perfect for what we're talking about today, is really important. And I also think the fact that he linked the concept of boredom here is also really important, because boredom is a sign of being out of alignment. Feeling passionate and enjoyment and enthusiasm, which we're going to cover in the next 2 weeks, really speak to why you need to go after it and not sit and almost kind of be hard on yourself because you don't have this state of peace. We're meant to evolve and to grow. And this craving of experiences, this leveling up that Ben is talking about, speaks to this heightened level of awareness, our increased ability to be present. And next week we're going to talk about this a great deal more, but this post came at absolutely the perfect time. So thank you, Ben. And last but not least, we're going to bring another quote from Jeff Harry. This is from another podcast. Jeff was on our podcast. He's been on the podcast twice, and he has a third episode getting ready to come out in the fall, I believe, where he flipped the tables on me and actually interviewed me. So that's going to be a great one. Well, I think it's going to be a great one, but maybe I'm biased. However, Jeff's been doing a lot of podcasting lately talking about burnout, which is a serious thing. We did a show a couple of weeks ago talking about it. Here's this quote that a podcast host, Kate Donovan, had pulled out and shared. It says, "Burnout at its deepest level is the sum total of hundreds and thousands of tiny betrayals of purpose. Tiny betrayals of purpose, tiny betrayals of self, tiny betrayals of your needs, wants, desires, and preferences, tiny betrayals of your integrity, your wholeness." When Jeff Harry said those top 4 words on this week's Fried the Burned Out podcast, my heart stopped. I've been researching burnout for nearly 5 years, and I learn new things every damn day. Those 4 words are had my brain cranking. Where can you forgive yourself? Come home into your body and honor yourself, your purpose, your needs, and your integrity. This is so damn powerful. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff has a lot of powerful things to say on so many different platforms. I highly recommend that you follow him. And in regards to this post, burnout, exhaustion is us ignoring living in alignment. And this lays that out really, really beautiful. I am not perfect at living in alignment, and so it comes as no surprise that that post would really resonate with me because I'm still working at it. I'm still trying to get to the place where I'm not betraying myself in all of those different ways. And I love that he uses the word betrayal. And here's another one of those. I love the something word description that's very painful at the same time. But the word betrayal to yourself magnifies what you are actually doing. I think we deminimize that self-sabotage kind of component so much. And that's why we have to use these descriptors, these words that are so magnified to understand the detriment that we're causing to ourselves. And when we do that to ourselves, that ultimately impacts our ability on so many other fronts. So with that, it is time to get to our heart chat and talk about acceptance. And so let me just go into point number 1. So when we're talking about acceptance, we're talking about doing things that we are required to do that we don't necessarily love. So if we're always guided by this thought process of following our joy, do what makes us happy, letting go of things that we don't, you could be like my 10-year-old daughter who is trying to find the perfect path where she can lead and wander freely to do all the things that she loves and never do anything that she doesn't want to do. That is definitely a path. For most of us, when we are committed to our work and committed to manifesting change, there's going to be things that we don't want to do. And so this comes directly out of A New Earth. And Eckhart says, this moment requires it. I do it willingly. And when we talk about acceptance, that is the key here. For it to be something that is in alignment with our connected life, we have to be able to accept it willingly, that this is something I'm required to do at this time, and I accept it. I'm not resisting it because I know it's part of the process. I know it's part of something bigger, and so it's something that I must do. If living my connected life requires me, and it does, to be a mother to my children and show up and know that I care and I love for them, when they get sick and they're physically ill and I have to clean up after them, does that bring me joy? Am I passionate about that? Not necessarily. Do I do it willingly? Yes, because it's comes from a place of love. So these are those things that we know we must do, and we do it willingly because we know that it's part of this path. We just know that it is. And I know this is a hard thing for us to do because I think we put a lot of things in this bucket of these are things that I have to do. This now brings a huge question of, are you approaching it with acceptance? Can you accept willingly that you are required to do that? Because if you can't accept that and willingly go into it and you're dragging yourself, you're forcing yourself, and you still can't accept that this is something you're required to do, then it's not in alignment. Let's look at point number 2. You can obtain peace in these tasks by surrendering to the action. So there's a stillness and peace that comes to surrendering. So even though I go back to the child physically being sick and cleaning up, I'm never going to enjoy that the cleaning up actual act. However, I can say that there is a peace and almost stillness in it. And because I've accepted that this is part of it. And it is really strange. And I use the example of being a mom because there is this weird stillness that happens when my children are sick. I honestly thought that that part I just would not be able to do. Like I would just be so disgusted. However, there is a calmness and stillness that comes over to me as I surrender when I need to care for them in that fashion. when I need to take care of my children, and that's a requirement, and I accept it, and I willingly go through it, and I know that that's part of being in alignment. If you don't have children, and if you have furry children or any sort of pet children, it's the same. You do some tasks willingly that are maybe not the best part of when you get to play with the puppy or pet the puppy, but cleaning up after the puppy, training the puppy, getting up with the puppy. Obviously, those who follow me on Instagram know that I have a new puppy, but there's a stillness and peace with dealing with all those things, because it is part of my connected path. It's part of, for me, on my connected path is one that's aligned with love and family, and animals fall into that too. So, and I'm using these personal examples because I think it's easier to find there before we transition to professional, because it's really hard if I just take a professional example and say that you're going to find peace and stillness if you surrender to that action. But that is exactly what is happening. So what I want to just share with you is this is 100% applicable to your professional life as well. The tasks, the things that you are required to do. If you cannot surrender and find the peace in them and accept it and willingly do it, there is a question about alignment. There's a question if it is necessary and absolutely needed to do. And this brings a whole nother dynamic to any sort of time management theories that are out there, or prioritization and all those kinds of aspects that people are doing. When you talk about the level of acceptance, that really was this missing piece that I think we've all needed for a very long time. So let's look at the third point. Oh, wrong slide. Third point is, if you cannot accept, you stop the task. So I think that is what is the game changer here, is that as you go through your life and you realize that you cannot accept that this is a requirement that you have to do, then stop it. Don't do it. And so these are things that you can look at personally, that all those dynamics. You can also look at it professionally in a multitude of dynamics. But if you can't accept that this is a requirement for you to do in that present moment willingly, and I keep saying this over and over in hopes that it just ingrains in your brain and sits and marinates, then stop. This is a really intentional, conscious kind of decision. But when I find myself bored or I find myself avoiding something, I really have to question myself, am I not accepting it, or because it's not needed? Because there's many cases where that is the actual situation. So for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to leave you with some action items and some homework in our moments of connection. So rather than doing a meditation or a visualization, I'm going to challenge you to do some homework and spend some time in reflection to put these into application. And in fact, I'm running a program right now called the Disengagement Detox, where those individuals are getting ready to do this actually next week, because I think it's really important for them to sort through their professional positions and get rid of things that they cannot accept, which lead to disengagement. So if we're going to just take this strictly from a professional aspect, why does this even matter? If you choose not to take this task on of acceptance and identifying those accepting kind of tasks, this is the bucket this week that holds all that stuff that is hard for us to do at work, we procrastinate on. And so this is the time for us to sort through that. next week and the week after is going to be focused on stuff that you love to do in some capacity and really just bringing clarity to it and heightening that vibration. This is about taking those things that are at a lower vibration and the ones that are draining you, getting rid of, and the ones that still nourish you and have a steady kind of vibration for your connected path, keeping those, but knowing intentionally and consciously that they are a part of you and your growth. Okay? So let's take a look at what your homework is for this week in lieu of our moment of connection. It's still a moment of connection. It's just a different kind of task. It's more tangible. So you're going to make a list, which makes a lot of sense. I think lists apply very well for the modality that we're talking about this week. And really what you're looking for is I can accept this or I cannot accept this. So decide what you want to do. If you want to look at it from a personal perspective or a professional perspective, I highly recommend, because usually if you're here and you're watching this, you are probably struggling from a professional aspect. Personal really is important as well. And I know some people that I have worked with in the past, I think they have professional struggles and really there's more personal. So if you feel pulled to go personal, do that. You know that those of you who have hung out long enough with me, I'm a big believer in don't fight what you're intuitively being guided to do. And that's a lot of the work that I'm doing. You know better for you than I do. However, if you are here because of professional struggles, push yourself to do this professionally. I want you to go through your tasks, not the work that you love to do or the work that made you say yes to your position. So there's always stuff that you do that made you say yes. So for me, I love the creating piece of programs, of teaching and facilitating. For me, the things that I have to work through and accept is the process to do that work. So all of the preparation and the creating of the supportive documents, like the slides for this show. Like I love getting on and teaching and sharing with you all the prep, finding the new music, all that kind of stuff is something that I have to sort through and would fall into the bucket for evaluating of acceptance. Does it have to stay or should it go? And so all those things, the things that you know that you don't love, that you feel you're called to do, that was part of your connected path, but is actually almost one removed but required, because if it's not done, then the other piece can't happen. List those all out and then ask, can you accept this or not? And if you cannot accept it, can you just stop it? Or is there something else that needs to be done? Because I'm going to be brutally honest with you, especially if you are in a leadership role. If you are in a situation where you can delegate and you have team members, or you are an entrepreneur or in a position where you're looking for possibly having a support staff or from a part-time basis or partnering with somebody, those things that you cannot accept, yet have to happen because they are part of the bigger picture, you're not going to be able to show up and do them at the caliber that they need to be done. And so that is when you start to build another job description, which to me was completely mind-blowing in the world of HR, of looking at this as another form of a task analysis to really create a meaningful position. Because now this person who comes in and fills that role is going to do tasks that you cannot accept and really be a complement and a powerhouse, because you'll know that they're absolutely needed because you couldn't just stop doing them. You needed them done. And now you're going to have someone who you're looking for can accept those tasks along with the layers of the passionate and enthusiasm. So you literally can build a job description through our next 3 weeks. And that's going to be really, really cool to do if you want to. Or even build a list of what your ideal job looks like. I mean, my gosh, you could do this in so many different ways. Obviously, my brain was turning as I was reading A New Earth. But keeping it simple, your work for this week is create a list of those things that fall into this bucket of possible acceptance tasks and identifying which ones you can accept and which ones you cannot. And if you cannot accept them, can you stop them? And if not, where are they going to go? Because you can't hold on to them. They are actually energetically bringing you down. Okay? So that was what I had for you today on the HeartRise Morning Show. Just as a reminder, this entire 3-week series is inspired by the podcast book club. So check out A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Read, and you can read along with the book club. Check out those episodes that are being released every Monday. And I will talk to you next week as we dive into our next modality, which is enjoyment. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.